Good morning, everybody. Welcome to SafeDefend Live. I am Dave Evans, and have the privilege of speaking with the one and only Jeff Green, the founder of SafeDefend and all things security for school. And the thing that I love about Jeff is he's walked a mile in your shoes as a school administrator. And the sole reason he started SafeDefend is because he was worried about his own kids. Jeff, how's it going today?
Oh, fantastic. And also I used to shape the lives of America's youth as well as a teacher. So I've done it from both sides, and I've actually been a paraprofessional. So kind of run the gamut in the educational space. So I don't know if that makes me uniquely qualified or just lucky. I don't know, but
I think it's both, Jeff.
There we go.
Lucky and uniquely qualified.
There we go.
Well, Jeff, you and I have talked a number of times about how we should prepare our students and teachers in the event of something happens. And we talk about drills and we talk about exercises. And I know you have some pretty strong ideas based on being a school leader, being a teacher, being around those kids about how things should happen and what we should do and what benefits the school. So let's talk about drills versus exercises today.
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to equate what a drill is apply it to the fire side, right? So once a month, we're required to have a fire drill. That's when we set off the alarm. Everybody, is supposed to follow an orderly fashion, the directions they're supposed to go to get to the nearest exit. And so that, drill is kind of that real world practice for, in a safe environment. We see it over and over again that we get a little conditioned to the drills, and really we get that habit of, okay, well, this is a drill, let's just take our time and let's head to the door. The difference between a drill and an exercise, where an exercise really brings value, especially when we're talking about that worst case scenario. That exercise is that opportunity, and a lot of times it's tied to a drill, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Is to sit down and go through different scenarios. So that exercise can be very formal, where you have somebody guiding a scenario, you have staff, you have anybody that might be involved, talking through what we might do. And in other cases too, we've also recommended this or suggested this to our clients is, even at different times during the day, do a self exercise as a teacher or as an administrator. Yep. I'm walking my kids to the lunchroom. What happens if something, if our alarms go off, if our notification goes off, and I'm standing here in this hallway? What is my best option? And not just have one option, you need to have multiple options. And so there's mental exercises, which, we recommend, just walking through it. You don't need to live this day, every day, all day long. You don't need to be thinking about this when you're trying to figure out how to help students succeed. But at the same time, just taking a few minutes and that mental exercise is critical. And it's good anywhere you are, not just in a school. You walk into the Walmart, you walk into the Target, you walk into the grocery store, whatever the case may be, just do a little quick mental exercise. Where are my exits? We've talked about this in training before. Airlines do this very well, right? No matter how many times you've been on an airplane, they tell you where the exits are. And that's a mental exercise that they want you to go through. And they flat out say that your closest exit may not be in front of you. And they want you to be thinking that direction if something happens. That's how you need to be thinking about it. Anytime you go into a public space, anytime, as you're walking down the hallway, just think, hey, where are my exits? What are the avenues I have to respond at this moment? And then again, it can get much more formal than that too. It can be scenario based, where you're sitting there talking about, okay, if then, what happens if the bad guy comes through here? What happens if the bad guy's a student and stands up in our freshman English class? You can get as elaborate as you want. The key, though, is to not necessarily have to put that stress on students of the full-blown exercise that, sometimes we see law enforcement coming in with, their sim rounds and, kids getting painted with blood and
convulsing. Yeah, that's probably not good for the students.
No. Where there is value in that is if it's on a non-student contact day, where the real value for that is law enforcement, right? So they can train a
Absolutely.
little bit and get familiar with that building, start to understand, hey, where are the hallways, get that layout of the land, and help them respond in that fashion. Those types of exercises are not really appropriate or valuable from the day-to-day school perspective. So there's so much we can do just very easily. Now, we do recommend drills when you have a notification solution, especially SafeDefend. We recommend and suggest to our clients all the time to run at least 2 drills a year. They hear the sirens. They know the difference between that and the fire alarm. What are we going to do? But those aren't surprise like a fire drill. Those are well prepped beforehand, so everyone, so there's no chaos and fear. But yeah, there's a real big difference between drills and exercises. And honestly, I just rambled on for about 5 minutes.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this. I've been to some of the drills that we've had at our clients' locations, and I will say this: they're very valuable. I learned a lot about the system when we walked through that with the teachers. I think it was just the teachers and us that day.
Yep.
We went through the alarm went off, went through the lockdown procedure. We walked around to check the classrooms with the administration and the local police department so they could see what happened. They're very valuable. I think those are great, but I also think the exercise piece is a key to ensuring your safety. You mentioned visualization as you're walking down the hall. What would I do if? I think that's something we can always do to hone our skills once a week. Take 5 minutes as you're walking with your kids going, what would I do if something happened right now?
Absolutely.
Because professional athletes, professional actors, we have all visualized the next steps. War fighters, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if this happens? And we're walking through that. So when it happens, I'm not caught off guard, right? I can step into something.
And again, that applies anywhere you go.
Yep.
I live in Kansas City. We saw at the parade, right? The unfortunate tragedy that happened there. Anywhere you go, you need to have a little bit of a preparation. And again, we don't need to live in fear. We don't need to have this type of response rule our lives. But at the same time, we talk about if-then statements all the time. It applies in all types of aspects of life. But this is truly, just equate it to an if-then statement. If this happens, then I'm going to do this. And if that happens, then I'm going to do this. And it's a real simple mental exercise that you can do. And you can teach your kids that at any level. Say, hey, if something happens at this Walmart, then what are we going to do? And it just starts getting laying that foundation. I used to do it with my kids when I'd go to have lunch with them at their school. They stopped thinking it was cool, but their friends still thought it was pretty cool when we would have conversations. And we'd do it in an age appropriate way. But you just want to have that understanding, that situational awareness to really be able to just keep yourself safe. Unlikely, yes, but it's better to be safe and not need it than need to be safe and not know how to get there.
Yeah, your training in life drives how you prepare and how you think of things. People always joke with me that I don't like to sit with my back to a door or a window because of my past, right?
Right.
Not living in fear, but living in the reality that I can't see something if my back's to it. So I just want to if something happens, I want to be ready. And I would tell our teachers, don't be fearful. Know you're prepared. Know you've thought through this. Know what we're going to do if this happens, and you're going to react to protect yourself and your students. That is the whole point of drills and exercises. And we can exercise every week. It costs nothing except for 2 minutes of our time to walk through it and think about, visualize what would I do if this happened.
Absolutely. And, we call that the Wild Bill Hickok, right? The only time he didn't sit with his back to the door is when he got shot. So, that's it's a pretty famous approach. Law enforcement does that regularly. They fight to see who has to sit with their back to the door. But the other thing that these mental exercises do, it doesn't take any additional time. It doesn't add stress or fear to your existence. But it just, your response, God forbid, if you end up in a situation, is you're going to be way more prepared than the next person because you've thought through some options, right? And even if option A doesn't work and option B doesn't work and you have to go with option C or D or E, thinking through those is going to put you in a frame to put yourself in in a safer situation much more quickly.
Yeah, and to our administrators out there, it's an opportunity for you to ask questions in staff meetings. You know, okay, we're in staff meeting, and just in the middle of the meeting, go, hey, what would you do if we had an active shooter kickoff right now? And have somebody answer. And put them on the spot, get their blood pumping a little bit, because now they're being called out, right? So they're getting a little bit of that anxiety you're going to have when you're called out to speak in front of the group. But that's going to help them get better in a safe place where we can talk through challenges and fears and all those other things to help prepare the staff in the event, in a staff setting, for the unthinkable.
Absolutely. Well, and when it comes to drills too, is don't get into a routine. Do them at different times of the day. Try to do it during passing periods one time. I mean, I know that's chaos, but that's going to make a difference in how someone responds. And honestly, that's not an unlikely scenario if somebody wants to do bad things that have, well, there's a bunch of kids in the hallway. So, even as a principal, I used to occasionally go set up little trifolds, and I'd have my art teacher make me a pretty cool fire out of paper. And I'd put it in hallways. So people that were just so conditioned as knowing that they went out of their classroom, they turned right, then they turned right again to go out the door. All of a sudden that route's blocked. What are you going to do? And it took some adjustment because we were so routine oriented on how we respond that it took about 2 or 3 drills before people were like, okay, I now need to start thinking of what happens if, and it makes a difference. It absolutely makes a difference.
We get into the Pavlovian response and just go a direction, right? I mean, it's just second nature. You don't even think about it. Sometimes you don't even know you're walking down the hall or driving your car, and something changes. Like, uh-oh, what do I do now?
Right. So it, especially if some of these teachers have been in that same classroom for 10, 15, 20 years, sometimes more. They know when that fire alarm goes off, they go left, they go right, they go out this door. Changing that whole mindset and getting us out of our routine is important, because we do become very conditioned to routine responses, and that's not always to our benefit.
That's a fact. Well, Jeff, it's been a great discussion today about drills versus exercises. I know you're doing great things at SafeDefend, helping protect our students and companies. If you need a security system, we do work with large companies and small companies that are looking for a solution. We can help.
Absolutely. Got a lot of hopefully be able to announce a few things here down the road here that are pretty exciting for us. So yeah.
All right. Well, Jeff, it's the weekend. Have a good weekend. Make good decisions.
Launch, eh? Yeah. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Month,
that's
baby.
Right.
All right. With that, Jeff and Dave, we are out of here.
Take care.